This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, I wanted to take some time to talk about pulling the Casper reports. Some folks have not had access to the QIES Casper reporting, and they're finding it a little difficult to understand which reports are available and how to pull those reports and what we might use them for. This particular training is only going to focus on how we pull those reports. So under the Casper reporting, once you're in there, there are a variety of different reports that are available, and they're all under different categories. So the ones that you're seeing here right now are listed as nursing home provider reports. Then we have quality measure reports, and then there are some quality reporting program reports that are available that we primarily use when we're looking in this Casper reporting. So the first thing you want to do once you've gained access to the site is to probably go in and change your settings so that you're able to see as many available reports on one page, so that if I'm saying to you, pull something, you don't see it, and it's because you have a second page. So if you go into the Options tab, you'll have a screen that will open up, and what you'll want to do is to maximize the rows. I put mine to 40. You can to make it whatever you want to have it there, but I put it in 40. And then the output format, you want to have a PDF accessibility option, meaning that if there are reports that are available in PDF, that's the way that those would particularly print. And then save those settings. So now we're in the Welcome to Casper page. We'll make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it. And you have definitions of what each of these toolbars provide. We are going to look at the folder tab. Inside this folder, this is your facility ID. The 00306 is a facility ID, OH00306. It's an Ohio facility. There are 3 folders when you are in your folders. You see your inbox. This is only going to have reports that you personally generated. There's nothing from CMS that's going to go here. The only thing in your inbox is going to be something that you've specifically requested. The second one is your facility folder. This has CMS generated communications, so things such as 5 stars and the imposed letters that we're talking about. And then the third folder is just a folder that keeps record of your validation reports, which is why the VR is there. So let's pay attention first to this facility folder and some of the things that you might find in there. So you'll see that there's the 5-star, there's public reporting stuff, there's the value-based purchasing annual report. There's all kinds of different things. These were all generated by CMS and then sent to your folder for your review. You're expected to check this facility folder every Monday to check for imposed letters and alert your administrator as soon as possible if you see a new one. You're also expected to do this every month around the 20th to look for your updated 5-star report, which you can share with your facility and your regional team. So now we're going to deal with the reports aspect of the Casper. When you click on the report tab above, you will get report categories. As I displayed at the first screen, we are going to look at the nursing home provider, the quality measure reports, and the quality reporting program categories. Let's first look at the nursing home provider reports that are available. There's all kinds of different things in here with MDS activity, the number of people that are admitting and re-entries, how many had errors, discharges, all sorts of different things that are in here and available. There's only one that you're going to pull with any consistency, and that's going to be your missing assessment report. And this is something that you're going to pull once a month. So you will click on missing assessment report, and this next screen will become available. You're going to choose your state. You will enter your facility ID. Then you'll hit add facility ID, and then it will show up down here in this little white box. Once you do that, you're going to hit submit. After submitting this or any other report, you go back to your folders and you will click on your inbox, and then those reports will show up in that box. So you can see here are the missing assessment reports that I pulled. I can click on these, and when I do that, it's going to open up that particular report. So here is the missing OBRA assessment report. We can discuss in a separate session how to read these reports and make corrections. But one thing I do want to point out is that when you pull this report and you see names on it, You do not go in and just verify that this assessment with this ARD at the target date was sent and accepted. We know that it was sent and accepted because it's showing up on this report. This report is basically telling you this is the last assessment we have received for this patient that you have listed. And it might be that the social security number is wrong or missing, the date of birth is different, or the gender has changed. Someone's put in a female instead of a male, and it doesn't recognize this patient to line it up anymore. So the only thing I want you to know just from this session is that don't go in and look to make sure that something's been submitted when it's on this list. We know it's been submitted, or else it wouldn't show up here to begin with. Next, we're going to look at the quality measure reports. And as I said, after submitting any requests for reports, they're always going to show up in your inbox folder after they've run. So for these quality measure reports, we have facility characteristics, facility level quality measures, a monthly comparison report, package reports, and a resident level quality measure report. These reports can be pulled at any time, but know that CMS only updates the database that pulls to this report on Mondays. So if you're pulling something on Tuesday and you just did something this morning, you wouldn't see that change reflected in any of these reports until the following Monday when CMS refreshes. So this is the resident level quality measure report. And this is a report that we expect that the MDS coordinators would be pulling every month. As with any of your reports, you're going to select your state and enter your facility ID and click Add Facility ID. You'll see that blue date that says data calculation. For these reports, it will always be a Monday. The significance of that is that that's the latest day you could make your end date. You can't take anything later. And as I said, if you're pulling this report on 127, 129, you're not going to see the data that's recently been entered by completed MDSs or submissions because it won't refresh until the following Monday. So as I said, MDS coordinators should pull this report every month. You should use a 1 month range. So the end date should be set for this data calculation date, and then you'll go back 30 days for your begin date. There is the opportunity to pull the package report, which is going to give you 3 reports at once. So this is something that your administrator and director of nurses are going to expect this package. And they're going to determine how often you pull this and what date range they want to use. So some like to look at it for 3 months, some like to use 6. That will be their preference. So don't mistake, we want you to pull it every month regardless of what your administrator and directors want. And then in addition, your director and administrator may want you to pull these 3 reports at a particular frequency using their specified date range. And you should always select the most recent comparison group that's available in the dropdown. So these will change. You could go back and look at them for ones that were more historical, but you really should use the one that is the most recent that's available in that dropdown. Again, after you hit the submit the report, it's going to be in your inbox. So here's the facility characteristics report, and you can see that basically this is just facility demographics. It's going to tell you, basically you can see the number of assessments that were used in the time frame, how many male, how many female, what their age was. There's all sorts of different questions that are there. So it's really demographics. And you will see that this reporting period was the 1 month time frame that I had pulled. And the comparison group was the most recent. So they're comparing our numbers to the state and to the national averages during this time frame. Then we have the facility level quality measure report. That's part of that package. Once again, you see that I had only used a 1 month time frame. It's still comparing us to the state and the national averages based on a comparison group from 5/1 to 10/31. And this just gives you all of the different measures and where it is that we are falling as far as the facility being the observed percentage and then an adjusted percentage. So if they're giving us anything for risk adjustment, you would see a different percentage there. And then we have the resident level quality measure report. So this is the one that you're pulling by itself once a month, but it is also part of the package that's available. So you'll see that in the monthly, I've got this report period here. The report period would be different if you were pulling this as part of a package for your director or your administrator. And then you will look and see that it's going to give you all the patients' names, and it's going to show you by the X's what things they triggered for. We can address in a separate session the different ways that we can use this report for survey prep, to increase your CMI, and for your quality measure management. Finally, under report categories, we're going to take a look at your quality reporting program. These are the reports that can cost 2% of your Medicare payment for a full year if you're not meeting the expectations. So we suggest that you pull the review and correct report each month, but we expect that you're going to pull it quarterly. When you pull this report, once again, you're going to have to put in your state, your facility ID, and add the facility ID, and the report is going to go to your inbox. This is a rolling year report. So whatever date you put in the end date is going to go back 4 quarters, right? So it's going to tell you quarter 1 and quarter 4 was all of 2020. But if you had put the end date of quarter 3 for 2020, it would actually go back. Quarter 1 would be 2019, quarter 4, sorry, of 2019. So there'll always be 4 quarters, and that's the way this report is looked at. As CMS adds measures that will impact your Medicare payment, we'll pull additional reports, but your team should be watching all of these other metrics now, even before they're formally impacting us. For now, we're going to pull the data that's related to the application of functional assessment and care plan and the drug regimen review. If you check off include resident level data when you're pulling this report, it's going to include all the residents' names that fell into this report, which makes it much easier for you to identify who you need to go in and make corrections for. They just changed this last year. You used to just get the report with numbers and you had to go back and figure it out yourself. Now they're actually telling you the patients that are triggering. When you place the check mark here, you're going to get additional report options. So once that check mark's there, now it wants to know what status are you looking for. And so you may not care about the excluded folks, but you may want to have all the triggered, not triggered, and excluded. So for ease and efficiency, you can just have it all 4 of them there. And the reporting quarter, you'll see that there's all 4 quarters there. All you really care about are the ones that are open, because the ones that are closed, you can't make corrections to, right? So you want to check open, and then you want to sort it by the patient's name as opposed to the other options that are available. Once you select the options, you want to hit submit. Now, this is the way your report will show up. It's going to tell you when you ran it. It's going to show you what the measure is. So this one happens to be the drug regimen review. It's giving you a legend to tell you what's triggered and not triggered, and that's in this status part right here. But this is what you really want to look at. The expectation is that this cumulative is always going to be greater than 80%, right? But we want it to be 100. If it dips below 80%, then you are going to have a 2% penalty in the fiscal year that this data is related to for an entire year for all your Medicare patients. That's why this is so important. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this data and you're paying attention to, we have 2 open windows. We have it open till February 16th, which is next week, and May 17th. So you can see how many patients you have a discrepancy with. So in this window here, with ARDs of 7/1 to 9/30, the data corrections open till February. There's 1 patient you're looking for. And for this other window, there's 3 patients. It's the difference between these 2 numbers is how many patients you're looking for to make corrections to. Now, to find out how to do that, you would be scrolling through the rest of this report and you would see the things that they were not triggered. So for that window, you can see those 3 people are listed there, and you'd want to be making those corrections to if you can. So again, we can discuss how to interpret the reports in a separate training session, but for now, you should realize there are 2 open correction windows at the point of this webinar, 216 and 517. Pull your reports, reach out to myself or to your regional to find out if you need to fix any of these things and get them fixed before that window closes so that you're able to make sure that this percentage gets to be 100%. You definitely want it to be there for each of the quarters. because it's cumulative. It's always going to be rolling. And if you don't correct these and you have something worse later, this is going to be a problem. Okay, so now we are looking at a provider threshold report, which is also in your quality reporting. Again, you're going to have all of your state, your ID, and add facility ID, but this is a fiscal year report. And so by default, right now, it's going to show up as 2023. And if you were to run the report, you're going to see that it's starting with data collection January 1 of this year and goes all the way through December of this year. So right now at this particular building, when I pulled the report, there had only been 4 assessments that had been submitted. And remember, these are Medicare type assessments. So it's not that they've only done 4 for everybody. But there's been 4 assessments and all 4 of them were complete. So your score is 100%. But if we were to look at this for the fiscal year of 2022, it's going to show you much different. That was for January 1st of 2020 through December 31st of 2020. This particular building still was at 100%, and that's what your ultimate goal would be. But remember, if yours doesn't say 100% for this 2022, it's because you have 2 open windows still that you can go and make corrections to. So you want to do that and get this as close to 100% as possible. And that is the end of this training.